And it is that time. It is that time, everybody. It's time for another edition of, all right, another edition of Marilyn's Cafe Society Radio right here on YouTube. How are you on this Friday? It's the 14th day of May, 2021. And of course, it's a beautiful day in my neighborhood. I hope it's as beautiful where you are as it is here where I am. And listen, I just wanted to pop in because I didn't get a chance to pop in earlier in the week just to say hello and to see how your week is going. And of course, to just give you some highlight some of the news that we've been receiving in this past week. And of course, it's been a lot, but we'll get through it. So, how was your week, by the way? I hope it was a good week. I hope that you have accomplished much. I'll be sharing some of the things that I've been working on in the last week or so, but until we get there, I do want to just give you some updates on the coronavirus. According to John Hopkins, they're reporting that there's now 161 million COVID-19 cases worldwide, and there's 3.3 million deaths. Here in the United States, we've hit more than 32.8 million confirmed cases, and deaths are hovering around 584,000. Now, listen, did you hear I guess, what some would call good news coming from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention? Yes, they have updated their mask guidance um, mandate. Now, of course, we know that they've kind of been back and forth with information, but the latest guidelines that they're putting out there is that people who are fully vaccinated now don't have to wear masks when they're out in large or small outdoor or indoor events. Now there are some situations where they will have to mask up and social distance, but for the most part, they're free to kind of go. Now they are advising all people to still wear masks when you're in spaces like hospitals and other medical facilities, and especially on public transportation. And by the way, there's about 35% of Americans who have now been fully vaccinated, and another 46% who have received at least one vaccine dose. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll continue to stay on top of this and see how things kind of work out. Again, President Biden's goal is to hit, what was it, 70% of the population being vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and you factor in the herd immunity, and they're thinking that we'll be on the right track to recovery. All right, and then the latest coming from the United States Labor Department, they are reporting a decline of jobless claims. Yeah, apparently we've hit a record low of these claims, around 473,000, they're saying, in the past week, which is a good number. And in other unemployment related news, I know you've heard about these 13 states, Republican states, that have announced that they will no longer disperse the extra 300 per week in unemployment benefits. They're planning to start this as early as mid-June. And of course, their reasoning is that they believe these extra benefits, the extra 300 per week, is creating a labor shortage. They're saying people just don't want to go back to work. Now, the Labor Department is mandated through the 2020 CARES Act to provide pandemic unemployment assistance for the unemployed who have become unemployed as a result of the pandemic. And they're supposed to be doing this through September of 2021. Now, progressive lawmakers and advocacy groups are calling on the Labor Department to enforce those states to adhere to their statutory duties. So this is another one that we'll continue to watch and see how it develops. I just can't imagine how an extra $300 a week will prevent people from going back to work. I honestly believe that there's just not enough jobs out there, or maybe there's a gap in between. So much has happened in this past year with the pandemic. We've seen things accelerate, right? And of course, weaknesses in our economy and in the job market and in the labor force has been further exposed. So I think that there's a lot of people who may, in the process of this pandemic and employers shifting to technology. There may be some people who are just sort of lacking certain skills now, so they have to get skilled up to uh, to fulfill some of the jobs that are now being um, opened up and available for people. So we'll watch it and see what happens with that. All right. Meanwhile, some Americans are asking, will there be another stimulus check? Yeah. And according to this Peterson Foundation, the United States government has already spent $5.3 trillion on COVID-19 pandemic support for individuals as well as businesses. And on top of that, President Biden is trying to push through another $4 trillion in spending through Congress that will cover his infrastructure bill along with that family's plan that he's trying to get going. And so you do the math on that, we're looking at almost $10 trillion that has been spent just in this last year, or potentially spent in this last year. And I wouldn't say that it's wasteful spending because we're in a pandemic and people need that help. And according to data from the United States Census Bureau, it's showing that the majority of Americans have spent their stimulus money on basic necessities like food and rent and mortgage payments, as well as utilities. And so, um, it's not, I don't think that it's an extreme to be considering another stimulus payment before we are fully out of this. Now, most Democrats in Congress have been calling for long-term stimulus payments since before this latest stimulus package passed back in March. However, with some states already being fully reopened and others are planning to fully reopen as early as next month, an additional stimulus check seems to be highly unlikely, but we'll follow it and see what happens. Well, in other business news, some folks will be glad to hear this. Clubhouse has finally launched its Android app here in the United States. And some more good news, Colonial Pipelines has restated operations after a cybersecurity attack last week that forced them to halt service. Yeah, as a result of that, some thousand or more gas stations in the South and Southeast were left without fuel. And of course, that sent people into a panic and they began hoarding gas. And wow, I'll report a little bit later on that well, we just said that it's restarted. They've restated operations. And so um, they're saying that it should take a couple days, but certainly by midweek next week, things should be back rolling again. All right, and let's take a quick look at the stock market after having a rough day yesterday, mainly because of that word that the Feds used, inflation. Yeah, the stock market really didn't do well yesterday, but they are bouncing back nicely as of about 11:30 today. The Dow is up a positive 261.6 points to 3,282.51. S&P 500 is also up 49.82 points to 4,162 and 32 points. And the NASDAQ is also up 247 points to 13,370.97. Gold is having a good day. They're up around $11.66 per ounce to $1,883.67 per ounce. Now, let's go back to that word, inflation. United States consumer prices rose 4.2% in April from a year ago. up from the 2.6% gain in March, which is way more than economists expected. And so what that means is, when you factor in supply chains being broken, meaning that supply is not meeting demand, and last year's toilet paper shortage was sort of a prelude to the latest shortages that we've been experiencing. Apparently, there's been a diaper shortage, which I knew nothing about. We just talked about the gasoline shortage that has now been corrected, and even chicken. Yes, chicken. There's been a shortage of chicken. In fact, so much so that the price of chicken has skyrocketed in the last couple of months. And people seem to really be upset about the fact that they can't get their chicken wings or that they have to pay an exorbitant amount of money, almost double what we were paying last year this time for chicken and chicken wings. And so they're upset about that. And, at the same time that the prices are going up, the government has been providing much needed cash assistance to Americans during this pandemic, right? And then, speaking of the pandemic, it's finally coming to a close, it seems, at least here in the United States, so much so that more people are getting out and about. They're traveling, they're buying non pandemic related items, like dress clothes and, fun things. And so when we um, put that recipe together of all that's happening, the experts seem to think that this inflation will just be a temporary thing and that will be okay in a few months. And so, of course, we'll just wait and see. We'll see what the next consumer price index report will say. All right, so you ready for some entertainment news? Let's go ahead and get into it. Well, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Ellen DeGeneres says that she's no longer challenged by her popular talk show. And so she has announced that she's ending it in 2022 after 19 seasons of being on the air. I would imagine if you go that long, it could get a little old, right? Because you go through each season, with the refreshed, revamped approach, like Oprah, all those years of the Oprah Winfrey Show. I guess at some point you just need to do something else, and I guess that's what she's going to be doing. All right, and then of course Tina Turner, the Foo Fighters, and even Jay-Z are among the newly announced inductees to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So congratulations to all of them. And Felicia Rashad, popular mom, the actress who's everybody's mom. She was, of course, the popular Cosby mom from years ago. But anyway, she has recently been named Dean of Howard University's College of Fine Arts, which, by the way, this is her alma mater. How sweet is that? That's got to be great. And of course, she is ecstatic and president of Howard University, and committee people and everyone there are ecstatic to have her on board. And so, congratulations to Felicia Rashad on that appointment. And lastly, in entertainment news, sports related. Haven't done that in a while, right? Well, this one is about Michael Jordan and Kobe. Yes, he is set to induct Kobe, his friend and fellow NBA legend, into the Basketball Hall of Fame. And that's going to take place on Saturday, May 15th. So stay tuned for that, everybody. All right. And that is all that I have on this day, the 14th day of May, 2021. We'll be back next week. We'll have a special guest. Probably we'll be doing two shows next week. So stand by for that. And of course, we'll have a special guest as we celebrate Haitian Heritage Month, which is something that we don't hear about, right? We hear about all the other ethnic groups and their, when their month rolls around, but we don't hear much about the Haitian people here in the United States. And so we're going to shine the spotlight on them next week. And again, we'll have another guest a bit later on next week in the show. So stay close. Stay close. I was gonna say stay close to your radio, but that's no longer applicable here. But you know what I mean. Stay close to your YouTube. All right, guys. Well, that is it. I do want to just remind you, we're going to drill this in until you get it. That we do have a new word for the month, and that word is irrefragable. Irrefragable, and it means not able to be refuted or disproved. Indisputable, sort of like heavyweight champion, right? Right. Irrefragable. So make sure that you practice that word and continue to build your vocabulary with me. All right. And remember the website, Maryland'sCafeSociety.com. Be sure to go there to connect with me on my social media. The links are all there, as well as a link to the blog, which has been updated for the week. We took a break from DuSable, so just just some thoughts that I was having. Be sure to check it out. You might be inspired. And I do want to thank those of you who responded to my plea for help a couple shows ago when I was sharing with you that I was feeling a little discouraged as I continue to be on this weight loss journey because I've been working so hard and not really seeing results. And some of you came through and offered up some tips and just some encouraging words and all of that. And I thank you so much. And I am applying much of what you shared with me to enhance my journey of just becoming more healthy and more fit. And I am encouraged. I know it's a process. It's very easy to pile it on, especially when you're just kind of, this last year with me personally and my personal life, so much has happened that I just didn't catch myself kind of falling off the wagon and turning to food for comfort. So uh, once I started trying to put certain clothes on and realizing something is awry here, I knew I had to do something. And so thank you for encouraging me. And hey, the journey continues. It's a journey, and thanks to people like you, I can stay inspired and motivated and see the progress. See the progress, slow but sure. All right, everybody. So be sure to put any good comments that you have for the show in the comment section of this video. Also, be sure that you like, subscribe, and share. That's right. And before we go, I want to tell you what love is. And because we did not do this last week, mainly because I had intentions on coming back over the weekend before Mother's Day to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. And so, because we did not get a chance to do that, we'll say it now that love is mothers. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed your day, and I hope you enjoy it every day. Mother's Day should be every day, right? All right, that's what love is. All right, everybody. Until we meet again on the YouTube, be sure that you live, you laugh, and you love. As always, it's a pleasure and a privilege to hang out with you. And we'll see you on the next show. Peace, everybody.